One of the most fascinating and devastating nuclear accidents was the K-19 incident, which happened on July 4th, 1961, off of the coast of Greenland, 1,500 miles away from their homeland of Russia. The captain of the vessel was Nikolai Zatev, and there were 27 other crew members aboard, including Captain Lieutenant Yuri Pustyev, who was one of the engineers of the vessel, Captain Lieutenant Vladimir Yanin, who was one of the executive officers, and Lieutenant Boris Korchilov, the Compartment 6 manager. Captain Lieutenant Yuri Pustyev discovered a loss of pressure in the primary coolant system for the port reactor. This meant that the heat from the fission process could not be transferred. If this continued, the reactor would eventually overheat, then enter into meltdown, causing a catastrophic thermal explosion without a true backup system. They attempted to switch it over to the secondary coolant system. This failed. This left them with one theoretical method. They would attempt to weld the pipes together to cycle steam plant water from the submarine's reserves into the reactor to cool it down. In order to do this, the engineers would have to go two at a time into the place on top of the reactor where the control rods were. This location would be filled with radiation from the deck plates and touching the heated reactor. It was insane, but it was their only hope. The antenna, which would have been used to send the stress signal, was shortened. The welding of the pipe succeeded, thereby extending the life of the reactor. They were now left with several options. The first option was to return to Russia, which would have allowed them to bring the ship home, but they would all have died in the process. The second option would have been to attempt with some diesel submarine that the captain had seen off a chart but was not supposed to know about, as they would have been the opposing team during the training mission. The third option, as proposed by some of the crew, would have been to land on the Norwegian island of J. Mayen, where the reactor would have eventually entered meltdown and killed everything on the island. The captain decided on the second option. This option worked, and the crew was evacuated first onto the S-270 and then to the destroyer Bivali, which brought them home. Upon reaching home, they were decontaminated. Some had to go through the process 2 to 3 times. They were sent to the hospital for treatment. 6 members were sent to Moscow for treatment. They all died while fully conscious. The symptoms of radiation poisoning are as follows: uninterrupted vomiting 15 to 20 minutes, radiation burns, 1.5 to 2 hours of edema, then ichor, agonizing pain and loss of mobility. Continue without loss of consciousness until death. The treatment was blood transfusions and marrow transplants.